Well, hi, welcome to another show, episode number 94. Wow, where has all of those episodes gone? It's Saturday. I hope you're enjoying your Saturday, and thank you very, very much for joining us. Today we have a special guest, which I'm going to introduce in just a sec. And also we have a regular, and also we've got you guys, the chatties, as well. So let's start off by saying a big warm welcome to Ben, who's joined us. G'day, Ben, and how's your week been?
Oh, it's been great, thank you, and thanks for having me on the show.
No, it's our pleasure. Our pleasure. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. You've got your own band. I know you're on the other stream that's on Sunday. So we see you regularly on that. Tell us a little bit about your
Yeah,
history, which I've already kind of got an idea of, but just for everyone else.
yeah. I'll try and keep it short because we tend to go on and on and on, don't we, about this stuff. Basically, been involved in music since I was about 14. I was signed to Jet Records, CBS, when I was 17.
Wow.
Um, from there, I opened my own recording studio, and then co-formed a band called Electro 80s, which uh, all previously I'd only been involved in original music, but we decided to do a tribute band, just to more to a genre than to a particular band, and we created Electro 80s, which was very popular. But during lockdown, we've kind of gone our separate ways. The singer has kept the name Electro 80s, and the rest of the band, we've got a new name, and we're called Elecromantics now, but we're still doing the same kind of thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Apart from my tribute band activities, I also do um, a little bit of film scoring. I co-founded the Pro Synth Network with Robbie Pericelli and Chris Cynthian, and that's a group on Facebook. And also, we do a live stream every Sunday night, and that's pretty much it, I think.
Fantastic.
That's me.
No, that's really, really good. Like I'll have to give. I mean, I've given Pro Synth Network a massive plug quite often, but yeah, I think if you're on Facebook and you kind of like to venture across some of the synth groups, I think the Pro Synth Network one is my favorite. But one of a few favorites. There's a few that I don't like, and one of the reasons why I liked yours, Ben, is because it snapped off from all that rubbish that was going on at the time, and I think we've settled in now nicely, and it's a more mature and like less kiddie sort of crappy behaviour going on, and I kind of like that. We all sort of seem to get along, and it's really, really good. So hats off to you and Robbie and Chris for running that. You do a good job. Fantastic.
Oh, thanks. That's great to hear, because that's exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to try and get away from the attitudes that tend to be prominent in some of the other groups, and that's what kind of spurred me on to to get something else going. And pro synth network, but you don't have to be a pro synthesist in there. Just a keen
Yeah.
enthusiast is very welcome. It's it's like it's a reflection of the gear that you use. So if you're using pro gear, then the Pro Synth Network is kind of the place for you. And if you want to talk about it in a mature and sensible way, without getting ridiculed everything you say, then that is definitely what we're aiming to achieve with the
Yeah,
Pro
no, it's
Synth
awesome.
Network.
Now we can't
Great.
not say hello to Andy. Andy's joined us again this week. Big hello to
Oh
you.
yeah.
How's your week been, Andy?
Oh, same old at the minute. But yeah, it's ticking over. Me, oh, here we go, reaching over. Oh, look,
Here it
my
is.
little, my little red box. The middle red box has
Oh,
landed eventually. Oh, there it is.
lovely.
It's only been plugged in a couple of times, but
Fantastic.
Initial thoughts?
Yeah. How'd you find
Yeah.
it?
uh, well, it sounds just as you'd expect it to sound. Which is not surprising, really, is it? So, I mean, actually, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Just for that particular flavour as and when you want that particular flavour. And at the price that Digital Village was selling them off for, I thought, sod it, I'm having it. So there we are. Got myself a little red acid box. It'll be the one that's worth next to nothing in a few years' time, because everybody will want the silver or particularly the yellow one. Well, yeah. Well,
or the purple one.
Who cares? I'm sure. or the lovely see-through purple one. Yeah. Well, I haven't got those. I've got a boring red one.
The yellow one seems popular, doesn't it?
Everyone seems to be getting the yellow one, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, it's just fashion victims. That's what.
Yeah. I might actually get
two of them.
I mean,
like Darren did.
I was like that close, like flip of a coin between the purple and the green. So I might actually get myself the 606 clone in the green, the see-through clear green one, because it actually looks really, really nice. Yeah. It's a bit like the Roland Ira.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I got no problems with those. Yeah.
All right.
I've never had any problems with those things. I mean, I always thought those Ira things look great. The green does not offend me in any way.
No, I'm the same.
Good.
I'm the same.
But other people think they look awful, which I've never really.
Yeah, understood. I don't understand it either. I like green. Green's my favourite colour. Let's say hello to the chatties anyway, because they're here and we can't ignore them. And there's a lot of chatties here, which is awesome as usual.
Cool.
So as we say every week, big hello to, the first person in the chat room was Andy, but next person after that, who gets really the true Guernsey, is X101. Big hello to you. Then Axel Soft. Heleno's there. Good to see you, mate. Thanks for joining. Finn's there. Azio Head, Wagoo. Apis Lapis, good to see you. Mac is there. Good to see you, buddy. Inky is there too. Good to see you, Lisa. Native VS, all the regular people. It's awesome to have you guys each week. It's really, really, really nice of you guys to join us. Wayne Murray. I'm scrolling as quick as I can. Who have I forgotten? Probably lots of people. Richard Groves. Grey Wolf 2004 RU, which is Ole. He's there. JX3D's there. Mr. Popes is there. Howard Mangram's there. G'day, Howard. Nice to see you, buddy. Sinister Goatfish. That's a great nickname. I like that. That is awesome. Robbie Puricelli, Failed Muso's there. Sergio, good to see you, mate. Good to see you. And Corrosive Abuser is there. Good to see you, buddy. Excuse me. I think I inhaled a lot of dust today. JP Page 2. Who else? I think that's probably about it. If I've forgotten you, just throw your synth at the screen in disgust, because we can't have that, can we? Anyway, let's get moving on to our regular segments. And you probably already know, most of you guys already know that we have regular segments here. But if you're new, you're going to get a little surprise when we go like this. And without fail, we do fail to make you laugh, and that's why stranger things can happen, because if you do, I feel sorry for you. But starting with this one, we had a lot of monoliths talking about them last week, didn't we? It just kept getting better, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then, of course, someone wanted to clone one. And moving along from the monolith jokes, we will go to this one, which I thought was pretty cool. A bit of a synthesis joke there. Which noise are we going to be listening to here? And who's been to IKEA lately? This whole studio here is full of IKEA. Who's been to IKEA? What about this one?
Yeah, that'll be me soon.
That's a great one, isn't it? All right, So, gentlemen, what was your favourite meme for this week? We breezed through them.
I love the Behringer monolith. The Behringer one was class.
Straight from the outback of Australia, that one.
I'd just like to point out that they're all wrong. They're all wrong because lith is stone. And they were definitely metal.
Well,
Being somebody who's trod up
Technically,
and down the
metal's a
length and
rock.
breadth of this country, going to visit standing stones and stone circles and monoliths, I know that they're bloody stone, not metal.
Well,
you can stop splitting hairs, Rans.
you can go and argue with the geologist, but technically metal's a rock. But anyway, we shall keep going.
No, it's a metal, mate.
It is.
It's
It is
mineral.
true. It
It's
is a metal.
So stop it now.
We have a big show to get through, so let's keep going. We've got some news. Now, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but there's a lot of Eurorack news happening. When all the big synth companies are quiet, Eurorack's out. Big Eurorack noise. I love it. It's fantastic. So the first cab off the rank is, if the button works. Who's excited about this? The Blades from Mutable Instruments, and we'll get a quick reaction. Who wants to put their hand up and have a little chat about this first? All right, we'll go with... No, not that one. That one. Wrong button.
Oh. Well, that video, let's be honest, DivKid makes it sound amazing.
Oh,
From beginning
he's
to
a
end.
professional.
I did a bit of skipping, but it just sounded absolutely fantastic. It really did. And when he was playing with the dual filter modes, where he was setting the twin peaks, moving left and right in your speakers. Oh, that was just a bit of magic. Absolutely fantastic sounding module, that. But the man knows what to do with it. I'd probably stare at it for ages, going, what? But it was definitely a good advert for it. That's true.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Ben does an excellent job at demonstrating these modules. I've got to say that because he's coming round to mine next week. So, but yeah, it's an excellent sounding thing. There was on the video. I did comment on the video because at I think it was 1 minute 4 seconds. There was a bass sound, and it was just awesome. It was like, I really need that sound. And I'm hoping to get some samples off him.
Yeah, that's where I said. I think I was just when you were playing it before. I said, "Whoa, the bottom end on that."
Yeah,
it was insane.
It's incredible.
Will he be able to convince you, Ben, to go modular though?
Well, I've been saying this for a while. I've got a tip-top 19-inch rack with absolutely nothing in it. I think it's got me. It's got me Focusrite sound card in it at a minute, the audio interface. So I do intend to go down this route eventually, and I think. Look, hearing what Ben was doing with that, I mean, like we've said, I don't think it'd be that good in somebody else's hands, but I'd be willing to give it a go because it sounds great, and I'll have to look into that. I was hoping to create some sort of like drum unit, really. That was my original intention, but that impressive thing.
Watch this space is all I can say, because we've got a couple more to show you, and I mean, even with that one, you'll be able to create drums with that. I mean, wave folding. Whoa, yeah, that's just bring me that. Right, let's keep going, because the next one, we're going to get pretty technical with the next one. Actually, why don't we do the video? All right, let's do some filter sweeps.
Now band pass. And high pass.
All right, so what we got here is the octo-core from Teia, T-E-I-A, Teia probably. Teia synthesizers. You probably actually said it in the video, I just didn't hear him properly. Anyway, so what is an octo-core? Well, it's a 12 dB multi-mode Vectoral VCF and VCA combined. This is actually pretty cool. For those wondering what Vectoral is, it's a resistive opto-isolator or photoresistive optoelectronic circuit that consists of a source and a detector of light that are optically coupled and electrically isolated from each other. So therefore your resistance is controlled by the current flowing through the light source. This all translates to a smoother, fluid, natural sound. You will notice a significantly better sort of soft, rounder sort of sound compared to the classic circuits. So in this, you'll get 3 filter types: low pass, band pass, and high pass. As you can see in the video, they're all selectable. The resonance knob with voltage control, CV input, which is always a good thing. A lot of people forget to put CV control on resonance. It's a 10 HP module. It's got that nice large sort of filter amp sort of crossover thing there. And it's also a ping input there. So there's your kind of percussive stuff, Ben. Right. Okay, let's get a little bit technical. Okay, let's get technical. So this module, right, a lot of people are going to say, well, what is this opto or RO type stuff? So if you want to get technical, when you've got voltage control filters and you're using a Sallen key topology, the RO provides
A what?
a nearly exponential dependence on the cutoff frequency from the controlling current. So what that means is it's not linear. So that's why you're getting that sort of smoothness, and you can do that without any feedback. But this also introduces feedback as well. So quite common actually, these type of circuits in Eurorack. So Dopefer do it, Buchla do it, Make Noise do it, a few others do it. These guys are doing it. And you're looking at 220 euros for this module. Gentlemen, what do you think of the Opto Core from Taya Synthesizers?
It was making me do
what you've just said.
We'll get back to you in a second. I'll go to Ben first.
It was making me do filter mouth watching the demo, which is always a good sign. I think I was like this. Just listening to it, so I reckon it's good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of an actual a board synth, as opposed to Eurorack synth that's got and I can't think of one. Someone in the chat might be able to. I do know there's actually a hardware synth out there that's got this in there. But Andy, you were saying you wanted to know what I was talking about.
I was just saying it. I was saying it sounded good, but I haven't got a bloody. The technical explanation was amazing. I haven't heard techno babble like that in ages. That really was great. I'm thinking, oh what? Yeah, and yeah, I don't care as long as it sounds good. Who cares whether the light's on or off inside? It was just a really nice sounding filter. And again, like you said, those little sort of percussive bits, they're sort of pinging it, ping, ping, ping. They sounded great, and he was getting some really quite interesting sounds out of it. And again, similar to the Blades one that we saw, he used 2 to give a sort of a stereo. Obviously you don't need to get 2 of them to do that, but I thought it sounded good. And obviously in the design, there's a nod and a wink to the black and gold of Instruo modules. That always, the gold on black always looks good, doesn't it?
Always looks nice, doesn't it? Little sort of polished look.
Very attractive looking module.
Yeah.
A nod to Instruo, a bit of a nod to Erica synths in there as well with that big black shiny knob on it. So
yeah,
yeah, I think it's a good module.
Yeah, I just wanted to show you what I was talking about with. So this, like I said, the RO stuff's been around. The Opto stuff's been around for a long time. In fact, in the early days of synthesis, companies like ARP and Roland and that sort of shied away from it because of it wasn't quite as easy to use. Hang on a sec. Why is that not working? Oh dear. Do we have a crash? There we go. Don't know what's going on there. But anyway, there is the, that sort of logarithmic sort of curve that I was talking about. So the LDR, or the light resistor, the light diode showing, the current, and that gives you the vectoral sort of curve. And that fact that it's curved like that is actually good. Now, I don't know why that's not turning off. There we go. Cool. Beautiful. Beautiful. I just thought I'd show you. That was actually a dope for image, so it wasn't actually from the Teo one. So it'd be nice if the Teo ones actually gave out graphs of theirs. Let's keep going because there is another cool one I want to show you, and that is number 3. Now, this is a massively long video, but I thought I'd start with this bit here. So what you're looking at is the local florist. Great name for a module by Pittsburgh Modular. AHP. I'll just turn it down a little bit so we can talk over top. Now, this module uses a bucket brigade delay chip, which obviously we all picked pretty straight up. But the cool thing about it is they're getting us the ability to play with the feedback of the BBD, which is something that we've all wanted to do, right? We wanted to have a little bit more control. Have you ever got those bucket brigade delay guitar pedals and you thought to yourself, wouldn't it be cool if I could just control some of that stuff a bit more? Well, that's where this module's going. And it just really gives you great feedback experiments, highly controllable, crazy variants of flanges, choruses, reverbs, delays, kind of a carpistral maybe, not really though. But anyway, who's going to pay a visit to the local florist, gentlemen?
Well, look, it's a very I don't know. It's a very unusual look, isn't it? I don't know whether that's going to put some people off with the flowers on it and that, but it sounds great, doesn't it? It's very interesting tones going on there. I just don't know. I like an industrial look with all my stuff. I'm not sure if I want flowers on it, but it does sound great.
Yeah.
He did say further down in that video that they were only going to do a limited run of them, and if they do more, they wouldn't be using that design. That they'd probably go back to the standard sort of battleship grey Pittsburgh
standard Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Pittsburgh.
That's more like it.
Anyway, did anybody hear Nick Batt's jam on Friday where he had the Pittsburgh Lifeforms SV1 out? If you didn't, go and have a listen because he made that thing sound amazing. The bass sound out of that was stunning. I've always Pittsburgh stuff. In fact, I've sort of in my own head thinking at some point I'd like one of those Lifeforms modules when I get into Euro that just to sit there as a synth voice all of its own. I very much like the idea and it sounds great. I think this little unit also sounded really interesting. You mentioned Car Plus Strong, where that was obviously the sort of direction it was heading.
It was heading, but I don't think it quite got there.
With the resonances, but interesting sounding little boxes. So, really nice. I like the flowers, by the way.
I actually don't mind them. I actually, I think, I don't know. I think maybe out of these 3 modules that I've just shown, I think all of them are giving me gas. I would probably say the one that makes me the most interested would probably be the second one, because I just love that sort of circuitry brilliance. You know, that it's just another way that we can sort of get into our sound design. And I think the one from Mutable Instruments also is pretty amazing. Now, I did forget to mention. I did forget to mention that the mutable one, which was this one, the blades, was 359 US, and so I'll just go through the prices again. This one was 220 euros, and this one was 259 US. So they're all kind of similar priced, aren't they? They're all kind of similar. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the blades interest me the most, but that's partly down to Ben's demo of it, because I think I've never really delved into the modular side personally, so I'm just going off what other people can do with it, and that seemed to turn out the sounds that have been more useful to me, you know. But it might be Ben that I need. I might need him programming my sounds as opposed to that particular.
Employ Ben.
Yeah, but yeah, they're all great. Yeah,
Yeah.
all sound pretty decent. Yeah, it's just a minefield, isn't it? For somebody who hasn't branched out into that particular area, you don't know where to start. You don't know what to do. Obviously, I'd probably just create my own mono synth, you know, with the typical signal path of a mono synth. But then when you start looking into all these variants and what's possible, then you could end up like falling down a huge rabbit hole and spending thousands, which is what worries me about the whole thing. Really, I think that's why I haven't started. But yeah, I think the Blade one would possibly be the one that interests me most out of them.
Right.
Blade one.
Fantastic. Well, I was playing around with cleaning out boxes and stuff like that, as I mentioned before, and one of the Eurorack boxes by a company called Clavis, and I thought I would show you guys some interesting things that they put inside their Eurorack boxes. So this is Clavis's. I bought their Caltrans, which is like a tuning module, and so what they do is they give you little brochures on all their other modules, not all of them, but you know, some of them, which I think is really cool. Anyway, it's quite funny because during the week in Discord, we were all talking about this one, which is called the Quadigy or something. This is a envelope generator module. So it's a dual envelope, quad envelope generator module. So it's got 4 envelope generators. And you'll notice that it's not your standard ADSR because you've also got it's like a 7-stage envelope generator. So you can do some of the sort of the crazy envelopes, like you can in like the Ensonic ESQ1 or even the Korg Poly 800's got a crazy envelope in it. So this was kind of something that popped out, and it's funny because it's almost like, you know, almost like karma's telling me to go buy that module because we were just talking about it, and then out pops this little thing. But yeah, 7-stage envelopes with pre-delay, hold, attack, punch, decay, sustain, and release, continuous curve shaping for AD and R, output level polarity, cycle capability with fit to clock time stretching. It's just crazy what can 32 presets. So you can, you know, 156 point CV matrix. You can just go crazy. I mean, I know Jamie sometimes watches the show, and he's a bit like me. He loves his envelopes. If you want, like, I think probably right now where I sit with my Eurorack, I think Maths is probably one of the best envelope generators. Probably, toss a coin. The Roland one is pretty good. What is it called again? The 540 from Roland System 500. But I want to get my hands on this. I think that's going to be some really, really good fun. Talking about, you know, sound design anyway. Rightio. Guys in the chat, what are they saying? Whoa! Don't forget the Buchla. Red panels in the 60s. Yeah. I mean, look at the, you know, the, what do you call it? Dreadbox modules. They're all very colourful as well. So, you know, everyone's going sort of away from silver and black. I have got a module coming very, very soon. Hopefully it's before Christmas, which I'm not going to say, someone will know in chat anyway what it's about, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to show you guys, and it's a white face module, which I've already got a couple of white face modules here. I actually don't mind the white face modules. They're pretty good. Yeah. So you guys talking about pretty much all the stuff that we just mentioned. Cool. We can just move on. Nothing really worth jumping out on there. Right. Next segment. Let's roll the stinger. This one, we've got some stuff. I don't know how we do it every week. There's stuff to show. And you guys are always kind of, it's good because you guys have always got an opinion about this stuff. I love it. Right, ADAT. Weren't we talking about ADAT the other day? I could have sworn we talked about ADAT the other day, right?
Whoa.
And the leases.
I've got 3 of these in the loft.
You might want to sell them.
them sold then.
Ching ching.
I do. Mine's the ADAT XT. Is that what's that one?
That's the LX20
Oh, right,
Type 2. Now, I will
Yeah,
tell
but-
you that this sold. So this, I don't know whether it's...
Wow.
You can usually tell with an eBay if it's been pulled down. This one actually sold, as far as I could work out. So this went through bidding and everything. Yeah. That's a lot of money for an 8.8 module. But I think Robbie was talking about ADAT. I could have sworn someone was talking about ADAT the other day. Anyway. So this is not a scam. This is just, if you've got some 8.8 gear like Ben has, it might be a good idea to move it on if you don't use it anymore. Anyway.
Are they actually worth money then, these things? Because I thought they were worth about 50 quid. No idea.
What's the guy? There's a guy from where was he from? Oh, I've lost my train of thought. Ken Flux With It had him on one of his shows, and he interviewed him, and he pretty much invented ADAT. I forget the guy's name now. Someone in chat will be able to remind me. He's still around. And he was talking about ADAT machines, and they're seeming to come back for some reason, and I can't put my finger on what it is.
Right.
I can't put my finger on what it is.
I haven't got the BRC. That'd be a nice combo, wouldn't it? 3 ADATs and the BRC controller.
Yeah. Well, we'd be reminiscing,
Be worth
wouldn't we?
Yeah.
How easy
Sorry,
is
Andrew.
it to get?
Go ahead, Andrew.
I was going to say, how easy is it to get the VHS tapes that you'd need to stick in it? I can't remember the last time I saw one of those for sale. It's a bit like
I had a box full.
They were so
no.
cheap at one stage too. They were so cheap.
Oh, they were. They're really cheap,
Yeah.
and now you can't.
No, you can't get them.
I even
Someone's
saw any
ordered
for
them.
sale. No,
Yeah, someone's bought them.
they'll be somewhere, won't they? They'll be drip feeding them for like a box of 3 for 50 quid. All those old Mac cells, if you remember.
Oh yeah.
Ouch! Here we go.
Now this has been pretty topical lately because I don't know if you guys have been watching the Jamiroquai videos on that Jupiter 8. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And obviously Junkie XL's Jupiter 8. I think I don't know if you put it up for sale or not, but anyway, here's one from Japan.
He did.
Here's one from Japan. Yeah, I think he did. I can't remember what he asked for it though. Because he had a lot of stuff on that auction. Anyway, 28,000 Australian dollars. About half of that, so 14,000 pounds we're looking at. So it's probably not overs. Probably not overs. I think I've seen them as high as about 20,000 pounds actually. So
Wow.
they are getting there, aren't they? That is getting to be
Yeah.
a very expensive synthesizer, and it's just going to keep going, isn't it? What else we got? We have also got one more. Oh, this one had me in tears of laughter. That is.
What?
This one is the JX1067. I don't know what it is actually. CWE J-Man NS4. It's a noise module, right? It's a noise module, and it was owned by Junkie XL according to this Reverb auction. 7,000. So £3,500 pounds. For a Eurorack noise
It's a
module.
good job. It's a good job he's open to offers because he's not going to get $7,000 for it, is he?
To be fair though, it does have 3 different types of noise on it.
Yeah.
You've got white, pink, and red.
If someone was going to give me 7,000 Australian dollars, I'd fart for them, and I'd actually tune my farts for them as well. I mean, seriously, we are talking absolute craziness. That one, that should have been on the funny side. That one for sure.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I mean, you could buy a mini Moog with that and use the noise on that, and then you'd have oscillators as well. All right, we've reached the end. We've reached the end. Yay, all the boring stuff's done.
Silly people.
Yes, all the boring stuff's done, which is good because Right, now.
It's interesting. Sorry, I just wanted to say about the the Jupiter 8 being so expensive. I wonder if the reissue of the Prophet 5 has affected those. The value of the original units in any way, because some people are still going to want that authenticity of the original.
I don't think so.
But But then with the added connections and the reliability and that, I'm just wondering if Roland did make a absolute replica of the Jupiter 8 with those prices just like, disintegrate really. Would like people be trying to get rid of them for, a couple of grand? Because it's interesting.
I don't know if you've actually followed some of my shows, Ben. I actually do the SH101 price watch, and I actually graphed it over probably for the last nearly 2 years, I guess now. And I mean, the biggest issue I was kind of confronted with at the start was when Behringer released the clone. I thought, okay, so is this going to actually affect the used price of an SH101? So the only way to find out is to actually record and track it each month. So we did that, and what we discovered was that it didn't affect it at all. So
right, okay. Yeah.
And I started doing it with DX7 just recently. I haven't got anything to show just yet. I'll probably start showing it early in the new year because I've got about 3 or 4 months by then. It's not really enough to graph if you've only got 2 months now.
Yeah.
What I have noticed with the DX7 is the prices are going up for DX7s and DX7 2s. And
that's Robbie.
That's just Robbie's fault. Yeah.
He's on a mission.
Now, when I say DX7s, I'm not talking about FM synths in general. I'm just talking about DX7s. So there's some specialness with the digital to analog converters and the sound that comes out the back of those. So that's what people are after. I don't know. This is the world we live in. Yep. Right. Yeah. So okay, so everyone is here today probably wondering, I'm going to be showing a bit about streaming gear and cameras and stuff like that. So I will do that, and I'm going to do that like in about 30 seconds. But also, don't forget we have a post-show, and in the post-show, we're going to go into more detail. We're going to get into a bit more technical detail about stuff. So stick around for that. And I'm also going to show some of Ben's music as well. So stick around for that also, which will be pretty cool. And hopefully by that, you guys will be all full bottled with everything. Right, gentlemen, what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you kind of as much as I can without, getting in my underwear, kind of my setup here and cameras I use and things like that. Just give all the details. I haven't got anything to hide. There's no secret to any of this. And I mean, we'll probably look at some of the kind of interesting things that I've done to sort of set up and, a bit of a mission control section here, which I've got. So we're going to do that. Now, what I thought we'd do first is, I'll grab my little notes here. What I thought we'd do first is we'll start at the PC side, okay? Because I think that's really that's where the guts of everything is. So I know you guys want to know about cameras and things like that, but at the end of the day, the most important factor in streaming and anything that you do is going to be your PC or your Mac. In my case, I use a Windows PC. I've also got a Mac sitting here as well, which I use, but not for streaming. So the Windows PC that I've got is a what they call an X299 style PC. I built it myself. It's got a gigabyte motherboard. It's got an Intel Core i7, a 3.6 gigahertz CPU. It's getting a little bit old now. I'm probably looking at rejigging it or maybe replacing it very, very soon. 32 gig of RAM. I'm running 2 M.2 NVMe drives. Now, if you don't know what any of this means, just sing out in chat. Hey, I don't know what you're talking about, brands. You're just gibbering stuff. So sing out in chat if it's too tech-ho for you. But the reason why M.2 drives are really, really good now is because your operating system should run on one. It boots up super quick. And I also use the second drive as a scratch disk. And I'll talk about that in a sec when we start talking about editing videos. I've also got other SSD drives in there as well, which I use to store, videos and things like that on there. Graphics card is a 1080 NVIDIA GTX 1080. So it's starting to get a bit old now because they've actually had 2 generations been released since then. So they've got 2080 and a 3080 now. So, and recently I I used to have like a water cooled system. So it had like a radiator and water pump and all that sort of stuff. Found it was a bit noisy, so I ripped that out and I put a Noctua fan back in, and I find it really quiet now. So you guys, if you go back and listen to some streams sort of mid-2019, you'll hear this sound, and that was the water cooler going up and down, up and down. It was really doing my head in. So I got rid of that pretty quick. All right, so that is the PC. Why that is important is because your PC needs to be able to handle quite a few things. And if you're streaming, it's doing codec sort of number crunching. And if you're looking at my show right now, what I've got is I've got 2 video callers coming in, and I'm running Vmix, which is my streaming software. I'll talk about that in a sec. And then that's crunching it and sending it back out. And I'm looking at my CPU usage right now, and it's sitting at 15%. And my GPU is sitting at about 20%, which is not bad. Now, so why is a GPU important? Because video rendering and streaming can use your GPU instead of your CPU, so you can take some of the duties off of the, it's kind of like sharing the task. And because it's kind of it's a graphical thing, streaming, so it can do it on your GPU. Some GPUs won't do it, and I'm talking about, when I say GPU, I'm talking about graphics cards, right? Okay, so let's get into cameras. Right, the camera that you're looking at right here, this one, this is me. It's nothing important at all. This is literally a webcam that you can buy from any shop. This is a Logitech C299, hang on, where is it? C920. It's probably not even available anymore. So the C920 something is available now. It's a high definition 1080p webcam. I'm thinking about upgrading that to another camera, but maybe down the track. We'll see how we go. Okay, so that's the first camera. So I will show you guys a little tour with the, I'll do a little sort of span around with all the cameras and stuff in a sec. Now this camera that you see here, which I do the top-down shots. So I was showing before when I was showing them the catalogs and stuff. So this shot here, this camera here, hello camera. This is a, I always like camcorders because they work really well in different lighting situations without you having to have to bugger around with the settings on it. It literally just does it all automatically. Plus they've got zoom. And a lot of them have, if you're a decent brand one, they've got optical zoom control. So this is a Sony FDR AX33, 4K camcorder. And I'm using just the HDMI output on it. It's not recording or anything. It's just literally just feeding that HDMI output into a capture card on my PC. The capture card, if you're wondering, is an Elgato capture card. And the cool thing about this camera is that I've got a little remote control that is sitting just here, and I can actually zoom in and zoom out without actually having to touch the camera. And the reason why that's important is because if I touch the camera, this is what happens. See how it wiggles, right? Whereas if I touch the controller, it doesn't wiggle and you get those nice controls. So just little things to think about. And the controller obviously is extra, but so that's kind of like the setup that you see just here in front of me. Now I've got 2 lights. They're both LED lights. One that I use to shine down on what you just saw with the catalogs, and I've got another light here which I just bounce off the wall. And the reason why I'm bouncing it off the wall is because the wall diffuses the light. I'm not getting like direct, just piercing light into my eyes. If I was to turn that around, that's what piercing direct light looks like. Bounce it off the wall, it diffuses it. So, I mean, I could turn it up if I want, make it brighter. So they're just little LED lights. I'll show you what they look like in a sec. Okay, so we talked cameras, we've talked, I'll show you some more cameras in a minute. We've talked that sort of stuff. What about microphones and audio? So you guys have probably seen my mic. If you haven't, say good day to Mike. Here he is. He's a good mate of ours. This is a Rode NT1. You guys have probably seen lots of people use these. And I just use, this is actually a Rode, what do they call these things, guys? The telescopic arms, right? You can buy these from the same place you buy the mic. The reason why I like the Rode is they're a pretty decent sort of mic. Now, I will admit, just naturally, if you don't do any treatment to the mic, it will pick up a lot of hiss and noise and stuff like that. the magic with microphones, I've never worked out. I'm actually pretty crap at microphone knowledge. Guys, you might want to help me here, but like microphone stuff, I'll show you guys what plugins I run on my input, and we'll go into that when we start looking at Vmix itself. But I actually do need noise reduction plugins to get it sounding the way it sounds for you guys. You probably even notice. And even on the audio interface, I've got a bit of treatment going on that input as well, which I can show you guys in a minute as well. Okay, so we're talking mics. What's the mic plugged into? The mic is plugged into a Studio One. Sorry, no, it's not. It's plugged into the Presonus Studio 192. Sorry, I nearly said the wrong thing. Which is a USB 3 audio interface. Now, Presonus don't make the Studio 192 anymore. They make the newer version of that. It's called the Quantum. They're pretty much exactly the same except for USB-C versus USB 3. A few subtle differences, but really they've got the same sort of sample rate and all that sort of cool stuff. Actually really, really like that audio interface. I actually like a lot of the Presonus gear. I just like the sound out of it. So we were talking before about DX7s, right? There's a sound that comes out the back of the DX7. It's not going to be the same as a sound that's coming out of your VST FM synth that's emulating a DX7. Same thing with audio interfaces and mixers. I find they have certain sounds about them. Now, I've had a heap of audio interfaces here. I've had Roland gear. I've had Arturia Audio Fuse. Lots and lots and lots of different. I think even before they had the Scarlett from Focusrite. And I just kind of got to the Presonus probably by accident, and I've just really settled on that sound. So I use it for my recording and everything. So that is that. So I'm just giving you guys just a real sort of quick span overview of just kind of how it all works. Now, the other thing I've got, you probably noticed that I'm switching cameras and I'm going from different scenes and I've got stingers and all that sort of stuff. Most of that is done in Vmix, but at the same time, I also have these things called hardware switches. Now let's go across to, in Vmix, I'll switch across to a different view. Let me just get the above camera shot going. There. And you can't see it in that one, can you? We have lost cameras, have we? There we go. That's that one back.
Oh.
That one. I don't know why that camera's gone off.
That's a blank screen.
Yeah, that one's gone off. You can just hear it.
There we go.
Here we go. Here it comes.
Got that overhead now.
This is a GoPro, as you can see. But thanks, GoPro, for your advertising. All right, here we go. Let's turn it on. Okay, let me move this so we can see the actual switcher that I'm using here. So the switcher I'm using is an Atem Mini. Okay, and that switcher is literally just to switch between the. Sorry about that. I can switch different cameras. Now I just do that with a hardware switcher. I can also do that with Vmix as well, the software, but I've got to have all of those cameras into some sort of capture device, and it's going to get expensive if I've got lots of capture cards, and it'll just run the computer down a bit. So that's why I like the Atems, because they take a bit of the taxing duties off of your computer, and they're just a little standalone device. Now I've got another Atem down here. I'll just show you without my name showing because it's better. You can see this one here. This one's called the Atem Mini Pro ISO. And the difference between that and the other one, this one records and streams as well. And it also, when it records multicam. So this one's kind of like the bigger brother of the other one. And I'm using that right now to stream. So that's why that is there. All right, so we've talked about switches. What else can I talk about just quickly? I know there's a lot to go through, but I'm doing it just as a quick breeze through just for now. Okay, rigs and things like clamps and what do I hold stuff up with? Yeah. So I'm going to talk about all that sort of more meaty stuff in a sec. What we'll do now is I might do a little sort of a camera sort of movement thing. And we'll go across to my PTZ camera. Now, my PTZ camera is a cool little camera that I bought. You guys don't need these to do live streams or anything. This is just me just being geeky, and I love this kind of sort of technology. But I can control this camera by just a remote control. And you can see there's a remote control there. All right, and there's my screen. And we can go up, and then you can see the lights. Okay, I can zoom in a bit. So you can see if I zoom in, you can see I was talking before about the Sony. Oops, sorry, it's not picking it up. There we go. I bounced it off the wall. So there's the Sony overhead camera that I use, and you can see the aluminium square piping that it's clamped on. So we're talking about rigging. That's what rigging is. So the camera itself is on a Manfrotto clamp, and even the light, you can see the light here. That's also on one of those Manfrotto clamps. They're quite expensive, Manfrotto rigging gear, but they are solid as. That's that little remote control I was telling you guys about. Let's clamp it there, or just somewhere nearby anyway. If we go across to the left, you can see, so there is, let me move the mic out the way. There is the webcam, and just above there's a little monitor. If I look in that monitor, I can see everything that's going on the stream, but it looks like I'm looking at you guys through the camera. So that's a little trick if you want to kind of look like you're looking at people when you're kind of doing these sort of things. Now, I need to get the mic back where it was, because otherwise it won't sound right. Okay, so I just thought I'd show you a little bit of that. Now, what we'll do now is we'll go to the chatties, and we'll see if there's a massive amount of questions, because I know that was quite a bit. So if you guys have got a question in chat, don't forget to highlight my name and ask away. What we're going to do first, start your questions now, but what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you the Vmix as I'm streaming right now. So we're going to actually show you the whole interface, everything that I use just to do this show, which I think you guys will love. All right, so I need to set up an input for my local desktop. And we're going to go display 1. And I'm going to make sure the audio is turned off on that one. All right, now this is going to look like everything is going to be disappearing into the ether on the top right-hand corner. But don't worry, that is just because it's capturing itself, basically. So this is the Vmix interface. This is what it looks like. So you can see, there's Ben there, there's Andy, right? And you can see, like, if I was to change, I can change to Ben, I can change to Andy, or I can go to my overhead camera. It's literally just a mouse click, right? And I actually don't usually use the mouse, though. I'm going to show you what I use in a sec. It's a MIDI controller. I've shown it before on the show, but you guys will see it. But you can see here I've got all my cameras set up. So I've got my my Blackmagic Atem Mini, and this camera that I was showing, there's the back of my head. In fact, good thing about PTZ cameras is you can set memories. So you can go like this with the That's brilliant, isn't it? What else? All the videos that I was showing before, so you can see there's one still running there. They're all here. These are all the videos I was showing. And all the images that I show on the show, they're all there. So I've got to be able to switch between all of that stuff. And there's a really good, overview of what Vmix looks like. As you can see, it's a really professional looking interface. And it is. It's a TV studio, basically, guys.
Almost.
Yeah. It really is. It's not cheap, but there are cheap versions. I'll just close that off so I don't tax my computer. All right, so I think you guys, can get an idea of what sort of happens. Now, I don't want to scare everyone off about you don't need all of this to do streaming. Okay, that's not what I'm about on this video. I'm just showing you what I use, and you have to kind of remember that I've been doing this now for almost 2 years, and not videoing but streaming. I've been videoing for many years, and kind of all the stuff has evolved. It's like an evolution to get to where it is. So if anyone really is intrigued about all the gear and they want to know all the details of the gear, I actually do have a Patreon website that we all kind of have Patreons these days, don't we? But I've put a post up on my Patreon, and it's a bit of a free plug for me, but I don't care, because we all have to make a little bit of money to help justify it. So there's my Patreon membership levels. Okay, you can get an idea of some of the things that I do, and a bit of a tour, and you can see their latest post here is all of my gear list that I'm going to be talking about on this show, so you can go and check that out. And there's a whole bunch of other cool things in there, like access to old streams, first look at the TD3, the purple, for patrons only. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that's on my Patreon. That's why I do it. And I don't have very many patrons, so I would appreciate more if I can. We're only talking about $1, so it's not like I'm asking for you to sign your life away. It just helps me with all the gear and everything that I've got. I've probably spent maybe $50,000 on gear, not just camera gear, but synths and stuff like that. And someday it's going to dawn on me. Why did I do it? Why did I do it? All right, we do have some questions. Okay. All right, let's go to chatties. We'll start with Grey Wolf, I think, had the first one. Okay, so Grey Wolf, where's his gone? So I can highlight the questions and add them to the queue. And then Mr. Mac had one, add it to the queue, and I think that was it. Okay, cool. So I go to the view queue. Right, now if I go to this, it should appear down below. Let's just force it to do it by doing that. And then that. There we go. So Mac's question first. Ramsey has a standalone with the Atem. Yeah, it's disappeared now. Ramsey has going standalone with the Atem being a big improvement. To what degree is the show running on standalone hardware? Okay, so it's a really, really good question. So at the moment, the reason why I went with the Atem Mini Pro ISO is because it streams. Now, Vmix streams. Okay, so why do I need another box to stream? Because streaming is another process that your computer has to do. It's got to convert. It's got to do the codec and everything, and also it's got to handle that through its network. Now, if you're starting to get into sort of IT world, you'll understand a little bit about how networks work, and especially if you've got flaky IT, ISP connections. I've spent some money recently on trying to improve mine. Here I've got a fixed wireless connection now, which is a microwave connection, which is line of sight into the city. We're about 7 Ks from the city here. And I've put, if you guys follow me on Facebook, you would have seen my speed tests and stuff that I do recently. That aside, the Atem, when it streams, it's got its own internet connection separate to the PC. So when I've got these gentlemen coming in through calls, which are taking up bandwidth, and taxing the network connection on my PC, the streaming side is different. It's on a different network. So that makes things so much better for me. At the same time, also, it handles streaming separately. It takes it off your computer, so you get that benefit. If you've got a powerful computer, you don't really need to do that. But for me, it's just one extra benefit. And also, at the same time, I can record on the Atem, I can record on the PC. If one of the recordings fail, I've got a backup. There's a whole other bunch of reasons why that's good. So that's the answer to that. Has it been better? Well, you guys would have noticed an improvement with the show. So the quality of the callers coming through, almost like they're just streaming themselves, right? So that's A lot of that's to do with Vmix and the improvements that they've done, but also my internet connection and the way I've set up my streaming as well handles that. All right, Grey Wolf asked, I wonder if these transitions and overlays are done by hardware boxes or software. So yeah, these are done with Vmix, as I showed you before. So you guys would have noticed that I do things like the funny side, and sometimes I do some other kind of cool ones like this. And they're just literally a button that I've got set up in Vmix that you've got to program it. You've got to go in and configure and what it does. And then after it's finished playing, it's got to go to a different scene. And there's it's setting up that you've got to do. But the other thing too, I mentioned before when I was using Vmix is I could use the mouse to do it, but I also much prefer to use a MIDI controller. And you can see my MIDI controller there that runs the whole show. You can see how it's all different colored. That's all programming in Vmix, and it's called attributes, I think, and shortcuts. So there's two sections. So the button press doing one thing and the coloring of the controller is a second thing. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. You only have to do it once, and once you save it, it comes back every single time without fail. So Vmix is pretty rock solid. You can go and buy third-party like X Keys, those sort of video world type controllers that work with Vmix. So you can do that if you want to. I want to go back. Have I lost my... I've just played with my MIDI controller now, and it's not working. I must have disconnected it. I've just unplugged it in the middle of the stream. Yay, what could possibly go wrong? Here we go. Yay, it's back. So we've got some more questions. I just want to clear that queue. Right, so Gazar67's asked a question. Let's go back to him. Let's quickly refresh it by doing this. So Gaz has asked, do you process the audio of your guests like doing compression? Your own audio sounds good, but usually your guest audio isn't. Yeah, it's a bit hard. So I'm always struggling because each week I have new guests. The audio is actually really a struggle, and it's always like that. And you're always going to be finding that you're going to have to play with it. So I did promise that I was going to show you guys a little bit about the audio, and I will do that. I'm just going to set up my local connection again. Give me a sec. There's nothing to hide here. That's all going to be good for everyone. Okay, so in Vmix, you've got this thing called an audio mixer, which is down the bottom right-hand corner here. You can see where my mouse... I don't know if you can see the mouse moving or not, but anyway. You can see me scrolling it, right? That's the audio mixer. Now, if I go to my mic setting, I just want to show you my mic setting. So if I click on the little cog, and I'm going to bring that up here because you guys will be able to see it better. Now, if I go into, these are all the gain settings and all that sort of stuff I've got. I go into plugins, and you can see here that I've got Waves NS1 stereo, and I can actually bring up the editor for this. Isn't that cool? So you can see there's the noise reduction there, okay? And I've also got the Isotope RX. I don't know if this is going to work. Oh yeah, it does. There we go. Is that showing you guys? Yeah, you guys have seen that. Cool. So there's all the noise reduction coming off my mic. RX voice is really cool. In fact, I should upgrade it because it's getting a bit old, this version. But really cool stuff. I did have voice centric running. I found that was kind of a bit annoying. So you've got EQ settings. I don't use EQ on me. I don't use a compressor. I don't use a noise gate. And you've got some other things in there. Now, if you look at the callers, I'll go to Ben. All right, so Ben's new today. So what I've got on him, I've pumped his gain up a little bit to 3 dB, but I've got no plugins and no EQ, nothing. So I could play around with that. I mean, I don't really have a lot of time because these guys come on like 5 minutes before the show. So I could play with all this if I wanted to. But I have with Andy, and I just wanted to show you that because Andy's computer gets a little bit, Andy's more regular on the show, and Andy's computer gets a bit noisy. So you can see I've actually played with the EQ for him, and you can see I've dropped some of those higher frequencies around 1K or 2K there. Now, if I was to disable the EQ, you can hear Andy's computer. and just pumps it out. And Andy still sounds fine because most of the vocals are not around that area. I mean, I could probably put a plugin on there as well. I should actually probably do that, Andy. I should put a plugin on you. It might be better. But anyway, I hope that answers your question about the audio side. So Vmix has got a really, really good mixer in it. It's really, really good. It does it does a voice minus as well. So for example, Ben, I'm just going to go to you. You can't hear yourself. Yeah. Let me grab you back. You can't hear yourself on the call, can you?
No, I can only hear myself in the room.
Yeah, and that's the voice minus in the Vmix software. So you're not actually getting yourself, but you're getting everything else. So you're actually getting the whole show pretty much. And so Vmix does a lot of that really, really cool audio stuff. And what I do like about it too is, I should never have disconnected this APC Mini. What I do like about it is that you can run those VST plugins as well while you're running on the show. So, all right, Azio had a question. Let's add his. And did I miss anything else? But Gaz is cool. All right, let's go to Azio's question and see if that works. We'll get rid of Gaz's. Let's refresh that again. Come on, wakey. I'll just say it anyway. So his question was, do you have a dedicated GPU or hardware decoder encoder card? Is that a thing? No, I've just got a decent graphics card, and I will. If I can't say this any louder and clearer to you guys, this is the most important thing when it comes to video editing, streaming, anything to do with videos. You've got to have a good graphics card. Right now, I'm not talking about getting yourself a 3080, the latest, TI. We're not talking about cheap station type, real big end graphics cards. I mean, I've got a 1080. They're relatively cheap now, and unless you're playing games that do ray trace rendering and things like that, you don't really need the 2080 or 3080 yet. But if you got yourself the latest NVIDIA graphics card is a 30 series, so if you got yourself a 3060, you would be really, really in a good place with all of this stuff. And it's going to help you with when you're doing your video rendering, when you're using editing software. So whether you're using Adobe Premiere or you're using DaVinci Resolve or anything else, and a lot of them can be CPU based. So what you want to do is you want to see if you can try and get yourself some video editing software that uses the GPU, because it really makes rendering so much faster. You'll be absolutely amazed if you ever get to see that. So Grey Wolf's asked a question. Let me see if I can get that one up. Boom. And we'll go to here. So he's asked, I don't know why it's not showing yet, but anyway, he's asked, so if I got it right, could you do all the same thing with just Vmix, but you have to plug in all your cameras directly into PC? Yeah. So, I mean, if I had... technically I could run the show just with 2 cameras. I don't really need all the other stuff behind me, but I like to show, as you guys know, all the other stuff anyway. So yeah, you could literally just have like 2 or 3 capture cards plugged into your computer. You can get multiple port capture cards as well. But one of the things I love about the Atem Mini, now not the Atem Mini Pro ISO, they're a bit more expensive, but just the Atem Mini itself, it's very, very cheap, and it's a 4 HDMI port video switcher, and it presents itself to either your Mac or your PC as a webcam. So the cool thing about that is you don't really need to have a capture card. You can literally just use the Atem Mini sitting in front of you. You can go from you to another camera to another camera. It's actually really cool, and you'll probably notice that a lot of guys now in the music industry are starting to get these Atem Minis because they're cheap. They do a lot more than just switch videos. They've got a really good audio side to them as well. Because don't forget, Blackmagic are like high-end professional, TV studio type video producing gear companies. So they're Australian-based. They work around the world. They're really, really good. Andy, you had a question. Does the Atem take outputs from the cameras using HDMI USB. Yeah, just HDMI, Andy. So
Right.
if you've got a USB type camera, you would just plug that straight into your Mac or your PC and use that separately. But all the cameras that I've shown here today, they've all got. I mean, I've purposely bought them to have HDMI outputs on them because I like to, feed the HDMI. The good thing about HDMI is it's pretty low latency. It's pretty reliable. The only negative side of it is you can't really run really long cables. So if you've got something a long way away, you have to start looking at things like SDI, which is a different type of video format. You'll see them.
The only reason I was asking you, Rans, was because I think the video quality or the camera quality of mobile phones, even cheap mobile phones, has improved such a lot that I've just bought a new, not fairly cheap mobile phone, but it seems like the camera on it is. So I was wondering, I might even think about getting a couple of those just to use them as different cameras and position them in different places. But obviously, the output of a mobile phone is USB. It's not HDMI.
Yeah.
I still think I might get myself a decent camcorder. Like you've already hinted that they're worth getting because they behave themselves, I suppose. It was just a question because I was thinking, well, if I have 2 or 3 of these things, am I going to just have to plug them into a USB a hub thing and then into the computer, or do I record on the phone?
Well, you've got that.
It's a new world.
You've got all those. I mean, for example, with the latest phones, okay, you can get a converter that will plug into the back of your phone and convert to a HDMI cable.
Yeah, actually, Natives just said that in the chat. So I did not know that. I mean, but that's really good.
Depends on the phone, but most of them will do it. Now, here's an example of another camera that I've got. Right, so this is a fairly common one that a lot of YouTubers use. This is a Canon 80D and a standard sort of 50mm lens. I use this for all the sort of depth of field type shots that you see on my videos. I don't use the Rode mic at all. I just don't like the sound of it. I can't use that as I couldn't put that up here and use that as my face cam because it just doesn't have the built-in firmware to handle. It doesn't behave like a webcam. The HDMI output on it has got all crap all over the screen, like all the writing and stuff that the camera has.
Oh, really?
So you can't turn it all off. And if you do manage to turn most of it off, you lose features like autofocus and stuff like that. So these are just no good for that sort of job. They're perfect for taking photos and they're perfect for doing, your own video with the SD card recording internally and all that sort of stuff. So if you want to look at like a DSLR sort of style camera, the Sonys and the Panasonics are probably the ones that I would pick at the moment, and get yourself a decent lens. If you can get a Sigma or the, sometimes the actual lens that the manufacturer makes are a little bit more expensive than Sigmas, but Sigmas are pretty good. And go for something that's got a fairly decent range on it, sort of like, anything from about 10mm to 30mm is good, because you're usually going to be not far away from them, so you don't want them to be like a big lens, like a 60 or a 50mm, because you have to be quite a long way away before you get something decent. So there's that side of it. Right, I think we'll have a little break from that stuff for a bit because it's getting really technical. I'm sure everyone's got some questions anyway. Keep them coming in. I'll keep an eye on the queue for the chatties. A bit later, we'll probably come back and I'll show you a little bit more stuff, like recording. What else can I show you? Just kind of a little bit more in-depth stuff that we kind of glossed over this stuff already. But I desperately want to now take you and show you a little bit about Ben's stuff because, he's a special guest on the show. Now, Ben, hopefully this button works to get you up. Yes, beautiful, cool, it's working now. What should we do? Should we show some of those videos that you mentioned before?
Yeah. Feel free, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah. So now you had a bit of a pass with did you say Visage? Visage. Sorry, I never knew how to pronounce it.
It's okay. It's all right. Yeah. Through Electro 80s, I ended up working with Steve Strange, and eventually Visage, which basically Steve did some gigs as like a dual headlining thing, and as time went on, he liked working with us, so we kind of became his live backing band, and that was great. But as part of that, I worked on some tracks for Steve in the studio, and when Steve unfortunately passed away, I did a version of one of the more recent Visage tracks, a kind of tribute to him, with Dreamer I Know.
Should we check that out?
One of the yeah, please.
Awesome, because I had a bit of a watch of this and I thought it was really good. So let's get that working.
Search for meaning. You turn my world from night to day. Calling like a soul I'm falling. Red lights and the siren sings. I missed the warnings. I knew it was coming. Can't fly on a broken wing. Dreamer, I know. Is that how you wanted it to be?
All right, that was clipping a bit. I don't know why that was.
Yeah, that's all right.
It might be just my end has probably got it too hot. Turn that down a bit. All right, that was beautiful.
I've never heard that before. That was I've not heard that. That was great. That is
really,
so
good.
I've not listened to any recent or more later Visage stuff. But yeah, Ben, that sounded fantastic. Great stuff.
The Hearts and Knives album was like sort of Steve's comeback, and there's some really great people who worked on that. Neil from Simple Minds.
Oh wow!
Loads of others, and it was like a real return to form, because like Steve was always he was always like the visual side of the band, you know, like in the early days it was all Midge Ure and Billy Curry that was
Billy Curry.
Yeah. Formula was putting the music together, and Steve kind of fronted it. And I know that like he wasn't like held in that high regard as a musician, but he was brilliant to front the band. And I think like with the Hearts and Knives album, he came back and kind of had a bit of a point to prove. It's a great album. It's really got that Visage sound, which seeing it as he didn't have that much involvement in the music side of things. I think it's a great achievement, you know. Originally he didn't have that much involvement. Later in Hearts and Knives, he kind of stepped up to the plate, and I think he led the band very well. It's a great album.
Yeah,
and it was a privilege to have worked with him. Yeah.
Oh, it's more than great, Ben. I mean, I know you probably don't want to sell it so much, but we think we highly rate it. Definitely.
Cheers.
We're gonna check out the next thing. This is a short horror film, Fear Crypt, and this is called Delicious. Do you want to check that one out now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna run 2 mice so I can get this thing.
I brought guests. What?
Has it gone too quiet now, has it?
Your house is really nice.
Thanks.
So Ben, talk us through this. This is a soundtrack, right?
Yeah. It's the second film that
This is my
I did
brother, David. Come on.
for Fear
He
Crib.
won't bite.
And the first film I did, I wasn't 100% happy with it, so I had a bit of I had a point to prove with this one.
Yeah.
And I tried to make
I
it
hope you girls are hungry.
quite sinister, but without, giving the story away before it's happened, kind of thing. So I tried to go for a little bit of a Ennio Morricone kind of with the music boxes, and I'm a big fan of his work, and I just wanted to kind of get that across in this. And
I definitely have to give this recipe.
Davy likes
it's been really successful for the short film. It's been the biggest viewed film on the channel, and it's won a couple of awards, and it's gone all right, that one. Really enjoyed working on it, so I can't wait to do more, really.
Now, obviously, I'm going to link all of these videos in after we get the video finished after the stream. Now, there's a couple. There was one other. Should we show that? Ticks? Is that a good one to show?
Yeah, well, that was the first one I did. I don't do it as well, but I was working to a fairly specific brief, so yeah, play it. But yeah,
all right, well, give it a go. Get my mouse working again.
It's a catch! It's a catch!
Oh my god! I think it's eating her.
Oh my god! Get it!
What are you doing?
I'm trying to get a bar so that I can update my status. Will you leave me alone? I was
Did you
this
get
close.
anything good? Did you get a bar yet?
No.
We're going.
Louis, come on.
Call me.
Nope, not happening. Ah.
Would you stop?
Do you want to kill all the wildlife around here?
Well, it is better than being bitten, Maddie, so I'm going to go with that option.
We are late.
So Ben, with
We're lost.
doing soundtracks, obviously it's different than playing music for a band and recording and that sort of. Tell us a little bit about your experience with that. Just give us a bit of an insight to it.
Yeah. It's kind of, for me, it's been a learning process as you go along, like trying to tap into sources of knowledge and picking up tips. But I find it more satisfying for me personally. I love to work with the visuals and try and eke something else out of the atmosphere. You can completely change the feel of a scene. I'm sure everybody in the chat and that is aware of this, but it's what fascinates me is that you can do something that seems quite innocent. You can give it a really silly undertone, or you can lighten the mood of some, and if you do it okay, you can do it with destroying the scene. You can take a little bit of pressure off, and I just think the whole thing's a really great way for me to express myself musically. You know, I really like the medium for composing too. Just for me, it basically I get the film, get a bit of a brief, and then I'll map the kind of timing out throughout the. You know, I've only worked on short films really, so at the timing out, the pacing of the scenes, and try and get the tempo similar to what's going on screen, and then I'll start playing about with ideas on top of that. Usually, I'll get quite far into something and completely change the way it's going. It'll completely give me a new angle at looking at the the whole thing, and I just think that for me, if I can pursue the avenue, more, then that would be the route I'd like to go down eventually. Especially with me, no longer being a spring chicken. I think it's quite acceptable to be in your 50s and turning out movie work. I don't think I'd look that great on the cover of some like teen magazine, just being in a pop band like. So
we can be the faceless men, can't we? Then
yeah,
I think we're quite comfortable with that, being the faceless men. No, that's awesome. I think definitely talented. I honestly feel that you should. If you've ever wondered, I think that's your calling. I really do. I mean, obviously, having that music background, with that sort of synthwave background as well, that really you can kind of feel that. Any movie that I watch now that has a real kind of synth presence in it, I don't know, I just immediately love it. It becomes almost like a classic for me. I mean, obviously, some of the more recent ones like Stranger Things, things like that, where there was a real big synth element in it. They're amazing, and I mean, it's a cliche now to say Stranger Things, right? Because just about every track I make on SoundCloud, someone goes, "Oh, it sounds like Stranger Things." And I'm like, I've been writing this for longer, but you know what I mean? Like it's a
synth arpeggiator. It's Stranger Things now, isn't it?
It is.
Like John Carpenter. John Carpenter's got a lot to answer for with the
he does.
Movie.
Yeah.
And he's also one of my biggest influences in the movie side of things. It's just
Escape from New York. How cool is that? Hey, I was telling Andy about that the other day. Like I've heard the soundtrack many times, but I've never actually sat down and watched the movie. And the other day, I actually sat down and watched the whole movie for the first time. Listening to the soundtrack for many years, enjoying it. It was kind of, for me, it was a little bit of like, War of the Worlds, right? Because there was no movie for War of the Worlds. It was a bit like that.
Yeah.
Because everyone kind of wished there was a movie.
Yeah, I remember The Thing. The Thing was one of my favourites.
Yes.
The John Carpenter remake of that. And I remember thinking, he's so good, John Carpenter. Listen to that music, it's brilliant. And then I found out it was Ennio Morricone. It's not even him. It's still got that kind kind of feel, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's got
it does. Yeah. But I mean, it's good to see that you've got your influences as well from there. It's really, really cool. What we're going to do though, for now, is we're going to slice off the main show. And for those who are watching, I just
wanted to ask Ben some questions, if that's all right.
No, we're going to, but
ask Ben a question.
I want it to happen after.
All right, I'll shut up for a minute
because it's an hour and a half after the show started anyway, so it's good time to do it. And then we're going to do some questions for Ben afterwards. All right, so
okay, cool.
If this works properly, we're going to say goodbye to the replay viewers, but not to the people who are watching it live, because they're the better people, right? See you, replay viewers.